How did you first meet Rob and how did you guys start working together?
First time I ever met Rob, his parents were buying my grandparents' boat. I hated them for it. Like, they didn't even remember meeting me that day, but I remember them because they were so pumped. He came up, and for some reason, we decided to make songs together. He had like a restaurant job back in Pennsylvania where we were from. He would come up in the middle of the night to my apartment, and my apartment had this like little closet that opened up more in the back. I put like a vocal booth back there, and at like until like 4 a.m, Rob would be screaming at the top of his lungs in my closet. I don't know how my neighbors never complained. I would like wake him up in the morning and be like, "It's time to get up. Let's make music." If he like was like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm coming up this weekend," I'd be like, "What are you talking about, man? Don't you want to succeed in life?" You know?
Welcome to the Braddog Media Show with your host, Brady Hustle.
Welcome to the Braddog Media Show, your entrepreneurial resource. I'm your host, Brady Hester. Today we welcome Charley Hustle, aka the Hustle Standard. You might know him from his hit song Beast, which was featured on the movie Southpaw. He also got a big shout out by Mark Cuban, as Beast is on his workout playlist, so that's pretty cool. The song was actually played during Mavericks games. The man has over 300 million streams to his name. Crazy. So many awesome things going on. It was really cool being able to talk to him and learn about how he came up in the music industry. So super fun conversation. I'm excited for everybody to hear it. And if you're enjoying the interview, please tap the like button, leave me a comment, and if you could subscribe, I would really appreciate that as well. Enough from me. Welcome to the show. Charley, what is going on, man?
What's happening, Brady? How you doing?
Doing great.
Good.
What's 2020 been like for you?
Oh, it's starting off hard.
Yeah.
2020. I mean, it's been all over the place, man. It's been an interesting challenge. I think when everything sort of kicked off in March with coronavirus and things getting shut down and everything, it was like, I think everyone thought it was going to be like a month or something like that, and we were just going to have to get uncomfortable for a little bit. And it was like, all right, hunker down, just work really hard when everything's shut down, and try and get ahead of the curve when it opens back up and everything. And now it's been, I don't know, 6 months, 7 months or something like that. And it's like, all right, so I guess this is just life. I guess this is how we do things now, And so it's been interesting to continue to try to work and be creative with creative and productive with people through things like this, writing songs over phones and on video and stuff like that. And so that's had its challenges, but it's been successful. Everyone's got a setup now and can record themselves and all that stuff. So it's been interesting. Definitely miss the in-person creative process, but
yeah, no doubt.
But it's been good. It's been all right.
Yeah, it's
and like everybody
it's so
else,
weird.
It's been up and down and crazy, and you just try your best to like take it easy on yourself and also try and stay productive and all that.
Yeah, it's so weird how we've kind of all just settled into it at this point, and like I feel like everybody's gotten a little more productive, with just being able to be at home. Everything's so convenient. It has its challenges, but it's weird how we've adapted so quick, as just humans, I guess. I mean, what else can we do, right? We just adapted and made it work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's weird. I can't wait to get back to meeting up with people and hanging out with people and going out and meeting new people and things like that. I think that's one of the bigger challenges is like, how do you meet more people? In business, and when you are your business, it's like to grow, you have to be meeting more people and networking with more people and stuff like that. So that's definitely been a challenge, because usually it's like go out and see a band and meet their manager and meet a couple of their friends and then go back and have dinner at someone's place and, meet some more people and all that stuff. So that's been different.
Yeah, that's weird. I didn't even think about that part in the music world, but I'm assuming, I guess now just hearing you talk about it, that's where a lot of collaboration comes about, probably organically, right? Just meeting people, through concerts and things like that. And, so how have you been able to kind of get some of those interactions lately?
Let me see. Who's new in my world that since everything's happened? There was this kid from Ireland who heard a song of mine and he reached out and I like did some production for him. Um, there was someone who I think I was in contact prior to, but it was like a friend of a friend introduced me to someone to write some songs with. So it's like word of mouth is really like the strongest form of networking right now,
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of been what it is. I don't know if there's that many new people that I've been working with since this has happened. But it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plenty of other people,
Right.
but yeah.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. So taking it back a little bit, I mentioned this to you before, but I came across you, like probably a lot of people, through Rob Bailey,
Yeah.
who, for those that don't know, and I'm sure a lot know, you guys have recorded so many cool songs together. Beast is obviously the big famous one. You got a huge shout out from Mark Cuban for being on his workout playlist for that one, which was super cool to see. How did you first meet Rob, and how did you guys start working together?
Rob and I met, the first time I ever met Rob, I think I was like 12 years old, and his parents were buying my grandparents' boat.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah. And it's funny. It's a funny story, especially the way Rob tells it, because I hated him for it. Like, I was mad that he was taking our boat, right? Him and his little brother, Drew. And they were so pumped. Like, they didn't even remember meeting me that day, but I remember them because they were so pumped. And then but we became friends like maybe 2 or 3 years later. We were on the high school basketball team together. And so
Nice.
we went to high school together. We went to, I think, only high school. I don't think we went to middle school together. But and that's how we met. And somehow my like junior year, we weren't even like tight friends. Like, we just kind of knew each other on the basketball team, And he was a year older than me. And somehow I convinced him to pick me up and drive me to school every day.
Nice. That's a good deal.
It was like on the way, for him, sort of, I think. And I was like, yeah, just pick me up, man. It'll be awesome. So he would drive me to and from school every day, which is pretty funny. Because we weren't even, like I said, we weren't even that tight. It was weird. But we just became buddies, and that's how we met. And we both were kind of, we both were just ready to like get out of that town. We both were just like, we wanted something bigger. We wanted something better. We didn't know what it was going to be, but we just had like a bigger vision than like going to college and getting a job and that's it,
Right.
like that type of thing, And so yeah, that's how we met.
Man, that's cool. Yeah, I knew it went back a ways, but I didn't know he took your boat. That was kind of rude.
Yeah. So we have an album. One of our I don't think it was our last album. Maybe the one Spectrum, whatever.
Yeah.
That album. And there's a picture of a boat on the album cover. That's the boat that he took.
Is it really?
Us. Yeah.
How did I not hear that? That's crazy.
Yeah. So it was a picture my grandmother took, and yeah. So we just thought it'd be funny to put that on there, but yeah. And then so making music, like in high school, I messed around with music and beats and stuff like that, and like loved hip hop and that whole thing, and got into that. And then I moved up to Brooklyn right out of high school, and me and Rob like reconnected. When he went to college, we sort of lost touch for like a year. And then I moved up to Brooklyn, and I didn't know anybody. And I like called Rob's mom, and I was like, "Hey, can I get Rob's number?" And so I got in touch with Rob, and I was like, "Dude, you want to come up and hang out in Brooklyn and stuff?" So he came up, and for some reason, we decided to make songs together. Like, I don't even remember why. We made these terrible, like, basically like baby Rob Bailey and the Hustle Standard songs, like looking back on them and stuff like that. But they were just like so weird and fast and like terrible. And Rob was just so
Rob screaming
angry
the whole time.
Yeah. And he would come, he had like a restaurant job back in Pennsylvania where we were from. And he would come up in the middle of the night to my apartment. And my apartment had this like little closet that opened up more in the back. So, I put like a vocal booth back there, and at like until like 4 a.m, Rob would be screaming at the top of his lungs in my closet. I don't know how my neighbors never complained, because we did it a dozen times at least. Like, like he came up a bunch, and we did that, and we made like 10 songs, and I was so serious. I was so just like determined, and like took everything so serious, and like I would like wake him up in the morning and be like, it's time to get up, let's make music, you know. And then like if he like was like, oh, I don't know if I'm coming up this weekend, I'd be like, what are you talking about, man? Don't you want to succeed in life, you know?
This is it.
Yeah. And so we did that, and it went nowhere, and we stopped after like a year, and I moved on to some other projects in my career and like trying to figure that out, and he moved on to start to do Flag or Fail and things like that eventually. And I think he actually was working at like QVC at the time. Do you know what that is? That like home shopping network?
Yeah. I just had somebody on who's an on-air host there, but
oh, cool.
Yeah.
So he was doing like web design for them or something. But anyway, that's how we met. That's like how we originally first started making music together.
Wow. Yeah, that's such a funny story, man. Those early days, it's hilarious. Like,
oh, it's great.
You know, you think you can, you know, your first round at it, you know, this is it. This is a chance to succeed.
Absolutely.
You're going all in.
Yeah, totally. This was it. I saw it.
Yeah. But hey, I mean, you know, that dedication.
Absolutely. I mean, that sort of desire and passion and all that stuff, like, got me through a lot of years where I still hadn't made it, you know, like many years of just like, no, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's so cool. Did you start off right off the bat, like going more of the entrepreneurship route where you were trying to, you know, make music for yourself, or did you have any like, you know, jobs right out of college or anything like that?
Yeah, I guess it was pretty much, I didn't really know that it was entrepreneurship, you know what I mean? But it was definitely like, I just wanted to do my own thing and make my own way. And I didn't want to have to answer to too many people and stuff like that. And honestly, strangely, not wanting to have to answer to too many people and go my own way felt like the more secure road to me.
Really?
Yeah. It goes back to like, I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandfather, when I was about 9 or 10 years old, he was like the vice president of the local bank. And so we were doing pretty well, you know, nothing crazy, good, solid, maybe upper middle class life, you know, just like good. We had a humble boat, and
that
Rob took. So when I was about 9 or 10, he lost that job. Like, he got, the board like voted him off, and he was out, and that was the end of that job. And he was like a year away from retirement and couldn't retire, couldn't get a severance from the bank, and life changed. And he like ended up, for the next 5-10 years, he was a flower delivery man, you know. Wow. Like, it was like a huge shift in life and lifestyle. My grandmother worked too, and like, he was great with his money. Like, it was fine. Like, everything was okay. Like, we didn't go through any like hardships, but I saw lifestyle change, you know. I saw the difference, and I saw the way to get rid of our boat. But seeing that, I was like, no, I don't want to work for someone. I don't want to work for some company that like eventually could just fire me, you know? Because and I know even as a kid, like, I worked hard. Everything I did to the max. And I was like, if I'm going to do something to the max, I'm doing it for me. And so for me, doing it on my own felt more secure. And so that's why I went that route. And yeah, coming up through the music thing, I didn't go to college. I went to like a 9-month audio program thing in
Oh,
New
okay.
York,
Yeah.
and got out of that, got an internship. And like at that point, basically working for someone, I had an internship and stuff, and did that for a while. And then like he would throw me gigs here and there, but it was definitely on like a freelance type vibe, you know? And I would try and find work, and they would let me use the studio. So it was a nice little trade-off. And but yeah, it's pretty much always been independent. Even when I had like consistent people giving me work, it was still in a freelance capacity, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really some great insight from you at such a young age, kind of seeing like, oh, okay, so corporate life is actually kind of risky, you know, it's not as safe and secure as, you know, a lot of people think. So that's super interesting. So how long did it take till, you know, you kind of had your breakthrough moment, you know, working for yourself? What was kind of the first big break where you're like, okay, this is actually going to work out?
There was a couple different ones, because there was one moment where I wasn't really making money doing it. You know, like I had that internship, and like it turned into sort of some work, but really it was like half internship, half they would let me use the studio if I had work I needed to bring in type stuff, you know. And that went on for like maybe 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that. Just the sort of middle ground of not having my footing. And I was living in New York, and it was so expensive, and I was just trying to like make it all work. And at some point I had to move back in with my grandparents. I moved back in with them for like 4 months or something like that. And it was rough, and it was hard, and I questioned what I was doing and whether I should be pursuing it. And I think I was like 23 or something like that. And at that point I like made a deal with the universe. You know, I was like, listen, I will do whatever it takes. I just need to make enough money to survive. And I was like, I went into this, like, I'll say yes to everything mode. I was
Yeah.
like, I'll say yes to everything. I just need enough money to survive, but I want to make that money in music, and I want to be able to make music. You know, like that was my deal, right? So within 6 months, I was making enough money to survive, barely. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the universe answered my wish with exactly what I asked for. You know, like I think I was living in New York City, and I was making like barely $30,000 a year, but I was able to make it work. You know, there's no health insurance. I had like a cell phone and like rent. Those were my bills, you know?
Yeah.
And but that was a breakthrough moment for me. Like until then I didn't really realize how consistent and hard you had to work to make it on your own. You know, before then I thought like, oh, I just know I'm going to do it. It's going to work out, you know? So at that point, that was a big breakthrough. And then another breakthrough came maybe like 4 years after that. It was a moment where I realized that I was making good money engineering. I built myself a good engineering career. I kind of started there professionally, at least. And I was like, cool, this is great, but I hate it. Like I
Yeah.
hated
Yeah.
engineering for people. It wasn't what I wanted to do. And it was at the same moment that I realized I was doing well that I realized that that wasn't what I wanted to do.
Mm.
And I was like, I got to make a shift. And I was able to shift. Like I was doing good. It was a good enough career that I was able to work 6 days a month, make all the money I needed to make for the month, and spend the rest of my time trying to write with songs with people and produce with people and start Hustle Standard collaborations and stuff like that. And so there was that moment. And then the ultimate moment was Rob, and this is such a long answer to what you asked
No,
me.
this is
I'm
great.
sorry,
I
but
love it.
the ultimate moment was Rob and I released our first EP, Battle Tested.
Yeah.
Came out in I think May, and it was cool. It did like some stuff, and like we got a little bit of money to put in our pocket after that first like week of the release.
Sorry, what year was this?
2011 or 12.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like cool. So I moved to New York in 2002. So this is 10 years after I, and like,
Wow. Yeah.
you know, up until then I was making like decent money, you know, like whatever. And then, so this was the moment where I was like, oh, cool. I'm going to be able to like save some money, you know, and like actually feel like I feel like I've solidified myself in what I'm doing, you know?
Right.
So, but it wasn't right away. So we released the album in May, and it did like had like a burst in the beginning and then leveled out, and like we'd make like $100 a week or whatever. It was like no money. And I was like, great, well, that was fun. Let's make another one, see what happens. And then in like January, so like 7 months after we released it, 2 different YouTube videos came out with the song on it. I forget exactly what they were. I know one was like, there was this couple that worked out together, and they like put Hungry, our song Hungry, in their video.
Yeah.
And it got like 2 million views in like a week. And then someone else like workoutmania.com or something put a video out, and that all at like the same time they came out, they both had like millions of views. And our sales, and well, sales at the time, because streaming wasn't really happening yet, our sales went up, and it was like, oh shit, I can live off this. This is incredible.
Wow.
And I've been able to live off of producing and writing songs ever since. So
Wow.
that was, so I'd say like probably January 2013, I guess that would be something like that, is when it was like, cool, this is what I do. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They say, the path to really making it, it's like a hockey stick. I've heard this where,
Oh yeah.
there's gradual decline or improvement, right? But then all of a sudden there's that shot, and, it looks like a success overnight, but the reality is you've been steadily growing for all this time. And then there's just that, breakthrough at some point where it all pays off.
Absolutely. And now I'm working on my next hockey stick, like I'm like, cool, I've been here for a while. Like, this is cool. Let's go up. Let's get to that thing and get another one.
What's the next hockey stick?
That's a good question. But really, I mean, I think it's just, the Rob Bailey, the Hustle Standard projects, all that stuff live in a certain world, right? Like they live in this, they're not mainstream, like they have their niche audience and stuff like that. So I guess the next level of the hockey stick is getting into more mainstream music and working with acts that have budgets behind them and people planning things out and stuff like that. So that's kind of the next level to the hockey stick.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, geez, you have the other fascinating thing about, the Hustle Standard and all your projects is you're able to cross over genres so much. It's like the possibilities are really endless. Do you have, or do you even think about, certain genre you're trying to stick in with a particular song, or do you just, do whatever sounds cool and, just make it as awesome as possible?
Definitely now I know what I'm trying to make before I make it, at least genre wise, I know that J Kill lives in this world. I know that Rob lives over here. I've worked on some hip hop stuff that I know I'm going to try and make some hip hop stuff. Lately, I've been doing a lot more like pop and like synth pop and stuff like new wave type stuff that like absolutely know I'm going that direction and stuff. So, but I'm also, again, jumping around, like I'm also putting out this sort of blues guitar, like rock blues, hip hop fusion thing soon too. So like, it does jump around, but it's definitely intentional and we know what we're trying to make. And, like all that Rob Bailey stuff, I mean, as it all in a good way, because it's supposed to, it all sounds like the same world, like it's all similar style of drums. It's all similar style of instruments and stuff like that, which I don't know, maybe got monotonous for some people, but
I enjoy it.
Yeah, we were creating a world, and it was like people didn't want us to make pretty songs or like really really deep shit and stuff like that. They wanted like in your face, let's go, let's get this type of thing. And with the way Rob delivers his voice and things like that, it has to be in a certain tempo, it has to be in a certain style, so anyway, all that stuff determines what the project is going to sound like and everything. So Yeah. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't wing it too often. There are times though. Sorry, I'm giving you like the longest answers, but I guess that's better than me being like yes.
Oh,
Um,
totally.
but there are times though where I take time to just play around, to just like see what it is, but it's not for someone. It might end up being for someone, but it's really to like experiment, and maybe I find like a cool synth sound in messing around that I'll then use on something else or things like that. So I
Yeah.
definitely do take the time to just like see what's influencing me and stuff like that. So
Well,
yeah.
it's so cool these days. Like, the genre crossovers have been so great lately. Like, I mean, Post Malone had Ozzy Osbourne on a song with him. How crazy is that? That would have never
Yeah.
happened like 10 years ago. I mean, there weren't that many crossovers. So, I mean, there's a guy, by the way. Geez, you and Post Malone seems like a match made in heaven for me. Like,
Yeah, I think so too. Come on, Post.
geez, I need a campaign for that one.
Yeah.
Um, but there's so much opportunity there, and that's right up your alley because you mingled in so many different areas. But do you have like a particular, um, you know, idea in mind for where you can have that breakthrough? Is it a certain genre, a certain person to collaborate with? What does that kind of look like going forward?
That's tough. I kind of go back and forth a little bit. There's also the challenge of like doing a wide variety of stuff. People then don't know what you do,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know?
That's true.
So there's that challenge. So that's why a lot of what I've been doing more recently has been a little more narrow, has been a little more in like this pop, synth pop world. But again, like I said, I'm putting out this other blues rock type thing as well. But that's a good question. Um, I also
Yeah, it's
grapple
tough.
with like I also grapple with um, do I push the hustle standard collaborative formula, or do I get away from that and just be the guy who's producing and writing, and it's not about my name being on it, like it's
Yeah.
about it being completely their thing. Both are attractive to me, and I've had more success in my career with things that my name is on than with things my name isn't on. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
that. But sometimes if you want to go for that next hockey stick, maybe what was working isn't what's going to get you to that next place. So
True.
but that's the point. That's a big reason for being in Los Angeles. Like I after New York, I moved up to the Catskills and lived in the middle of nowhere for like 3 years, which was fantastic. And I had artists I was working with and all that stuff, but I wasn't growing, like we were talking about previously. Like I wasn't meeting people. I wasn't um, bringing in new collaborators and stuff like that. So being in Los Angeles is a big part of that, and honing and narrowing my sort of effort is definitely what I've been focused on recently.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, that's something, I've worked with because, when you have so many different interests, it's tough to really narrow it down. But at some point, it is probably important to actually, find your lane that's going to lead you to the most success, right? And you kind of have to avoid some of the interests that, slow you down and hold you back.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And speaking of kind of, collaborating and have different styles, within one song. So Golden Ash is, one of my wife and I's favorite songs. Okay.
That's awesome.
Where did those monkeys come from toward the end of the song?
Oh, that's so great.
It's so random.
I've always kind of joked around about doing that, like I think it's fun to just throw sounds in songs and like create a moment that's in that song that won't be in any other song.
It's not,
Um,
yeah.
that's so funny. I kind of forgot they were in there because they really are like at the end of the song. Like it kind of changes
Yeah.
and
Things
becomes
just
this
get
other
weird
thing.
in like that last minute, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened there. I think I just threw them in and like I've done things. I've sent things to Rob that like just for fun, like just rapping weird verses on things just to like show him where a rap verse would go and stuff. And he's like, what the fuck is this, man? Like, what are you doing? So like sometimes sometimes the jokes stay in,
Yeah. Yeah, you never know.
So yeah. I remember doing it though and hoping that Jake would like it, like being like, come on, this is cool, right? Like you're into this. And he's like, all right, sure, whatever. So yeah, that's kind of where that came from, I guess. Just
Yeah.
messing around. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. So I imagine you've had, tons of those that haven't made the cut, unfortunately.
Yeah, or shouldn't have made the cut,
Right. Man, that's funny. So kind of going back to 2020 a little bit, I don't know how much you toured and things like that, but I know that
zero.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Yeah.
So, I think might benefit you now a little bit where, other artists are losing out on tons of money, not being able to tour. Has that benefited you a little bit, not even touring in the past? Like, that's not even anything you rely on. And now getting into 2020, you're, already into these different opportunities, to bring in income.
Yeah, I guess so. Never really looked at it like that, but yeah, it's not like I had to like figure out a new strategy for 2020. I already work at home. I already have it set up at my house even, so yeah, I don't think it's just not what I do. I mean, it seems like it should be what I do because I kind of have a band called Rob Bailey and the Hustle Standard, but like we never had the intention of touring, like it was a studio project. It was we just wanted to make songs, and Rob was always so busy with everything he had going on that it just didn't make a ton of sense for us to do this. There were times where I think he would have like lost money to tour with Rob Bailey and the Hustle Standard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, good problems to have for him.
Yeah. Right.
And touring is just not my thing. So like in a way, asking me that question is almost asking me like, aren't you glad that you don't like make it inflatable rubber boats? Like it's like, right. Yeah, whatever. It has nothing to do with what I do. Yeah. But no, it is closely related. But it's I have friends and stuff who can't tour, and that's tough. Like because that was their income, and they're trying to figure out other ways and trying to sell some merch and trying to provide some insight into what they're doing with maybe some sort of paid Patreon model type of thing. I haven't really looked into that, so I'm not sure. I've just been seeing like Instagram stories and things, but I'm like, cool, try to get it, guys, and it's hard because music is this like integral art form in our world. Like it that like fashion and music, I feel like are the most like integrated art forms in our society, TV is definitely high in there, but like music's everywhere. Music's at the restaurant when you're eating dinner. Music's at the bar when you're having a drink. Music's in the store when you're shopping. Music's in your headphones when you're working out. Music is in your TV show. Like it's everywhere. And it's one of the least valued art forms, and I'm not being an artist sitting here crying about like, that. I'm just saying it's kind of what it is. If you look at it as a commodity, like it really doesn't have much value, and so that is difficult because I think being an artist who tours, live shows had a real value, and now trying to figure out what that next thing is, and if the next value you're looking for is to transition to what I'm doing, like if we're talking about like not having to transition to what I'm doing, the only reason this is working for me right now is because of all the momentum and all the building up I did the last 8 years. It's not something that you can just transition over to, and it's like, cool, I'm gonna put more effort into like my Spotify, and that's gonna work next month. Yeah, so totally. It's tough. It's a tough transition for sure.
Yeah, things have gotten a little weird in like the performance space in 2020. You know, you see all these people trying out live Instagram shows and things like that, and man, they're kind of weird. I feel for them. You know, people going over there
Yeah.
trying, especially like comedians. And man, I don't know how you tell jokes with zero response.
That's hard. That's hard. I feel like the late night guys have figured it out a little bit. You know, I remember at first it was so awkward to hear them tell their jokes because they were used to having that crutch of like an audience laughing along, you know. I feel like they're trying to figure that out. Like you can't do the like the little dig joke. Then you just sound like a dick.
Yeah.
You know, like without people laughing along, you just sound like a mean person.
Right.
So it's been
subtle shots.
sure. Yeah. And you know, the difference between like making a record and performing live is when you perform live, you have the benefit of people hanging out, drinking, making some noise, flashing lights, performance, all that stuff. So it doesn't necessarily have to sound perfect. It doesn't have to sound great, you know, because there's other elements. You're receiving other information. When you listen to a record, it's all got to be better than the real thing. You know, it's got to be a record. You know, it's got to be great. It's got to hold your attention for every measure. You know, so that's probably one of the challenges with doing these live, you know, streamed concerts is, well, now we're just really hearing what you're doing, and that's not as good as the record, and I'm not drunk. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, if I want the, you know, best form of this, I can just go turn on the song, you know.
Yeah. So that's tough. The DJ thing's been interesting. I mean, I remember in the beginning there was a guy who like did a DJ set. I forget who it is. He's a famous DJ. I feel bad forgetting his name, but I remember that was big. Do you remember that? Like in the first couple of weeks of
there were a few. Yeah, I think like, I don't know. Was it like DJ Snake, Lil Jon? I mean, somebody big.
Yeah, something like that. And they did it, and it was cool, and everyone tuned in, and it was fun. But I feel like people that like the novelty of quarantine is definitely worn off. You know, like everyone in the beginning was like, "I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that." Like I was going to get really good at guitar. You know, that never happened. Life kept on going. You know.
Yeah, it's interesting. Have you you know, picked up any additional like, you know, skill or different project in 2020 that you might not have, you know, if it wasn't for all this?
I definitely have been taking more time to learn new approaches and methods and new mixing techniques. I feel like I had a huge breakthrough maybe like 2 months ago with mixing. And it was so weird. It was such a weird breakthrough because now I do like less than I used to do, which is strange. But like, but anyway, I had this big breakthrough with mixing. I may have had that outside of COVID. I don't know if that's attributed to it, but
yeah,
there has been a lot of time to just be here and do this. The one thing that I do appreciate, maybe I appreciated it more like in the middle of all this going on, but at this point I'm a little over it. But the thing that I appreciated and still do appreciate about this situation is, and being lucky enough to be able to appreciate this, but is that I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to go meet anyone. I don't have to go see a show. I don't have to travel to anywhere. Like I can't. So I get to consistently do what I do. And that's my favorite part, is making the music. So thankfully that's my favorite part. So like being able to consistently, I like to work Monday through Friday. Being able to consistently Monday through Friday, wake up, get to work, do it, know that it's going to happen, be able to like get the momentum rolling on projects and stuff like that. If I'm looking for a silver lining in all of this, like that's definitely part of it, you know, because we all know how life is, man. Things drag you all over the place, and you got to put this fire out, and you got to go see this friend that's in town. And I love that stuff. I miss my friends, but like, if I'm looking for the silver lining of it, it's like, well, at least I get to just be consistent with what I'm doing.
Yeah. A little less obligations, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you, you know, what might be a pretty tough question with, you being quarantined a little bit and, less opportunity outside of the office, is there really a value to being in LA or really California at this moment?
No.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think so. I haven't really. I mean, me and my wife have been talking about like maybe leaving for a little bit and like coming back when it all clears up. Because I can sit in my house anywhere.
Yeah.
I can. The only thing I do here's a benefit to being in Los Angeles as opposed to being in the Catskills where I used to live is I can Postmate anything.
Yeah, that's nice.
Anything. And there's such a variety of restaurants still, and the grocery stores are amazing, and all of that stuff. Which in different parts of the country, you don't have access to things like that you have access to here. But career wise, no, there's no reason for me to be where I am at this moment.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, are you just kind of waiting it out and hoping, at some point it'll get a little more back to normal?
Guess, the challenge is that I work at my house. So even before this, I would have co-writers come over to my house and work. And if I had a studio, I'd probably feel a little better about like getting back with people at some point and that thing. But everything's going to have to be super cleared up for me to bring people to my house,
Right.
And so I don't know when that's going to happen. Who knows? We don't really have even a ballpark of an idea of when that's going to happen right now. So, so definitely thought about like just getting out and going somewhere else and maybe hanging out in Santa Fe anywhere I go. I'd want to go somewhere where there was plenty of outdoor activities to do. I don't want to like go to like a city, and like that type of thing. Thankfully, I kind of live outside of the city of Los Angeles. I mean, I guess downtown is a city, but like I live out near the airport and out near the ocean and stuff like that. So it's pretty suburban out where I'm at. So there's space and I don't feel like people are on top of me and all around me and all that stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if that answered your question, but
totally. Yeah, I just wanted to get a little insight from somebody who's actually out there, not just what's on the news.
But is it beneficial to be anywhere right now unless you have a job that requires you to be out of your house? Like
not too much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And people are starting to flee cities and stuff like that. People are starting to leave California with the wildfires going on and all that stuff. Yeah. And that's interesting too. I dig LA. I like New York. New York was amazing, and there's a huge music industry in New York. But LA is such an entertainment industry town, which a lot of people dislike about it for good reason. But it's like, but that's my industry, so it's kind of fun to be in. It's like being in Silicon Valley if you do technology things, or I can't think of other cities right now that are like industry based at this point, but like it's cool being in an industry town on some level. Some of it's a drag because everywhere you go everyone's talking about industry stuff and things like that, so after a while it's a little bit like okay, but for right now in my career, except for COVID, it feels good to be in an industry town. So
yeah when things were more normal, are you just getting pitched ideas like all day every day out there?
Not necessarily, but it's that openness to conversation and ideas is everywhere for sure.
Yeah. In a way that's really cool though.
It's really cool because maybe you need to find like your people, but you don't need to search really hard to find other people that are interested and are professionals at what you do.
True.
So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. What would you recommend to somebody who's wanting to get involved in the music industry and maybe, have a path where they work for themselves in some capacity? How would you recommend somebody, take that first step and start to get involved?
Well, I'll speak from my perspective of being a producer and a songwriter in the music industry, just to hone it down a little bit.
Yeah.
But start. A is just start. because it's so easy to get started. You know, you need a computer and a little bit of software and a decent halfway decent microphone and a $75 keyboard, and you know you're a music producer. And so the entry to it is so easy. Then after you start, it's about like get really good and meet as many people as you can. And then to maybe go another step further, I'd say I have a cousin, Ray, who lives in Colorado, and he went to college in Fort Collins, and he's got a band out there, and he just graduated college, and now he's transitioning into wanting to be a music producer, right? And he is part of a network in Fort Collins and part of a network in the greater Denver area of musicians and stuff like that. And for someone like that, it's like, you know what? Stay there a little bit longer. Like, work on some projects with these people that will let you work on projects with them and do some cool stuff, especially now with the internet, and especially now with how easy it is to like get things to different people. You're going to make better stuff in Colorado than you would in LA or New York in the next 2 years. And I think, you know, you have to having access in a place where like you're in a big fish, smaller pond situation, I think is really important, starting out and learning and developing your craft and stuff like that, like getting a chance to actually work with people and meet people, and you're all coming up together, you know? Yeah. So like, if you do something cool with this band and then they move to LA and they get on, like they could call you back and be like, hey, let's do this thing. Like, even if it's just like a remix or something, like, you know, so I think it's cool to be in a small town when you're starting out. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think you should hold on to that a little bit.
Yeah. And I think people underrate that too, about like, you know, starting in your community with people, you know, and kind of working out. And somebody, I don't know if you're familiar with him at all, but Tech9 is huge for Kansas City, and he's always repping Tech9.
I'm on a song with Tech9. No big deal. No big deal.
Oh, you really? How have I not heard it? What's it called?
It's called the Beast Remix.
Really?
You not heard the Beast Remix? It was on the movie.
I probably have then. Tech's on that?
Yeah, Busta Rhymes and Tech9.
Oh,
and,
right. I forgot about. I knew Busta Rhymes was on it.
King Crooked, something like that. It was a weird thing. I wasn't even involved in getting any of those guys on there. I didn't like work with them when they were on it or anything. But whatever, we're all in a song together. But anyway, yeah. Tech9. I didn't know he was from KC.
Really? He's always repping Kansas City. He
I haven't listened to too much of his stuff. So.
Okay, yeah. What does he say? It's from the land full of barbecue stands, Kansas City.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. Yeah.
But
rap's like such a great example of that. Like, rappers rep their city and their cities support them, and they come up through their cities, you know, like almost every rapper, if you're a fan of them, you know what city they're from.
Definitely.
You know? I don't know where Maroon 5 is from, you know, like I don't know where some other band is, you know, like a regular band is from, like who knows? But rappers, 100%, you know where they're from. It's like a part of the identity and a part of coming up. And I think that's important. I think, you know, people look at like Seattle back in the day with the grunge movement. Austin had its moment with things coming out of there. Detroit had Motown. You know, like these cities had movements at one point. Chicago had it. And it doesn't feel like that's possible anymore. I think people feel like places are dead and stuff like that, and you got to be where the action is and all that stuff. I just don't think that's true. I think you still can get a lot of value out of coming up through your area, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think that's, you know, valuable in a bunch of industries. I mean, marketing, for example, like I could theoretically work for, you know, with somebody anywhere in the world, but, you know, being known as a local marketer and somebody who's, you know, valuable to Kansas City is big, you know, and you can spread yourself too thin when you try to be everywhere, right? It's kind of tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, look, eventually there is value in moving to a city and moving to an industry town and all that stuff, because at some point you're going to want to level up. You're going to want to get a good manager. You're going to want to get maybe a label or publishing deal or those types of things, where being in the city and being around everyone and doing that stuff is beneficial. So, you know, all things are good.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, so we talked about everything that's going on here in 2020. What are some current projects you're working on, though, that people can look forward to and, maybe to end 2020 or start of 2021?
Yeah, thanks. I've got a song coming out with this band project thing. It's called Karate Body. That's the name of the band.
Hey.
But it'll be Karate Body featuring Hustle Standard. It's a song that we did called Monsters Are Coming. And it's kind of like a kitschy little song. It's going to come out like October 9th, just before Halloween.
Nice.
But it was the first song I wrote over FaceTime after COVID happened. So like Monsters Are Coming are about like the disease coming to get you and all that stuff. So it's about like staying inside and hiding from the monsters.
That's awesome.
But so that's coming out in October. And then before the end of the year, I'm going to have some other stuff come out too. I started a project with this guy, Zach Kibbe, who, this is the blues thing that I've been talking about. So Zach's like an awesome blues guitar player and like got a great rock and roll voice. And I'm doing like my kind of cool hip hoppy heavy drum production on it. And so our project is going to be called Black Horse Pike. And I think we're going to release like maybe 3 singles, and then release like an EP after that. So, and it'll probably come out all pretty quickly, like maybe every 2 weeks release a single and then put out the EP.
That's awesome. When will that start, dropping out?
Not exactly sure. When do you think this will air? When is this?
So this podcast will air. I'm going to cut this out, but let me go check. Yeah. I have it on my list. So this podcast is coming out October 14th.
Okay, great. Yeah, okay. So yeah, the Black Horse Pike stuff will probably start coming out in November, I would say. Maybe all be out before Christmas. And yeah, it'd be fun stuff to look forward to. And then yeah, that's that thing. So that's fun.
Awesome.
Starting like a sort of collaborative studio project, like sort of it's not the same genre, but in the sort of vein of like the Postal Service or something, where it's just like a producer and an artist coming together to make a thing that lives in that sort of world. So
yeah, that's awesome.
So that's fun. So we'll have like 6 songs on there. And other than that, I've got like some new Jake Hill stuff that I'm working on. There's this kid, Ryan O'Shaughnessy, who I put like 2 songs out with recently, Permanent and Lucky One. We'll have another song coming out at some point. All of that is still like being made and planned and all that stuff. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of what's coming up.
That's cool, man. And I'd imagine your turnaround might be a little quicker on projects than a mainstream label. Right? Doing it on your own.
I mean, once it's made, we can just put it out. We don't have to wait for a bunch of stuff. We try and plan some things, and I'm getting a little better at like, when we did the Rob Bailey stuff, it was like we got it done and we put it out as soon as we could. Like it was still smoking, by the time it got out. So I think the turnaround was like a couple of weeks, the way you had to do it back then. Now you can get stuff out like 2 days later. So, but I'm trying to pause a little bit. It's hard. You want to like try and get on playlists. You want to try and get a little bit of maybe press if you can find it or anything like that. Build up the momentum while you can,
Yeah, totally. Well, I'll be spreading this, so hopefully we'll get a bunch of plays on all your stuff from this show. And
awesome, dude.
Yeah, I know I'm looking forward to listening to all of it, so can't wait.
Cool, man. Yeah, dude. Well, thanks so much for the interview. It was really great. The podcast episode. It was really great to meet you, and I wish you all the best, man. Keep doing it. Stay consistent. It's a really cool format, so appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks for your time, man. And I'll be looking forward to everything coming out. Thanks so much.
All right, Brady. See you later.
See ya.